Guys, I don't think this rationing is fair. You all know that I eat a lot, so why would you give me the same size of food as everyone else? The same size? My mom asked, confused.
Honey, you're mistaken. You weren't given the same size food as everyone.
My dad clarified. Really? So why am I so damn hungry?
Your rations are 3 times the size of everyone else's, so I can't really tell.
3 times! I compared the meal packs, and my little brother Josh was right. My meal packs were indeed 3 times as big as others. 3 times? Dad! That's so unfair! I asked for an extra pack and you refused! My sister Catherine folded her hands angrily. Well, you can have one of mine, I offered, feeling embarrassed for starting this conversation in the first place. One of yours? Catherine scoffed. You were literally just complaining that your humongous rations were not enough, and now you're trying to pretend to be nice by making an offer that we all know you can't go through with. Just trying to make me look like a bad person as usual. Please excuse me. Catherine brushed me to the side and walked into our tent. I'm so sorry for complaining and being ungrateful, Dad. I'm fine with my rations. My dad laughed.
You weren't complaining or being ungrateful, my love.
Yes, she was! Catherine screamed inside the tent. If the rations are really not filling you up, we can give you some of ours. We don't eat a lot these days anyway. My mom smiled at me. Typical! Catherine screamed again. Don't mind her. She's just jealous. I can't hear you! It's fine, Mom. It's really fine.
Whatever. Look, guys, are we still having a game night or what?
My brother asked. Thankfully, my brother ended that embarrassing discussion with his question. Catherine happily jumped out of the tent and we began having fun. We played into the wee hours of the night before rounding up and going into our different tents. Catherine was sharing a tent with me, Josh was sharing a tent with Drake, our eldest brother, and my parents were on their own, away from all the nuisance. I'd had so much fun that my bones were already really weak. I retired to my tent and tried sleeping, but my growling stomach didn't let me. I really hoped that Catherine didn't hear the embarrassing sounds that my stomach was making. That girl had not one bone of sympathy in her entire body. We'd spent 2 nights in the camp already, and to me, it felt like 2 years. I didn't tell my family though, but I had almost exhausted my food rations. There was only 1 pack remaining, and my stomach was fighting an inner battle with me. If I finish my last meal pack, then I'll starve for the rest of the day. We had 1 more day of camping before returning home, so how would I survive? Whatever! I couldn't cope anymore, so I quickly opened the last pack and finished it. Catherine may have heard me eating, but she didn't stir. After eating, I felt relieved. I closed my eyes and went to sleep, only to wake up very hungry 2 hours later. Heck, what exactly is wrong with me? I just ate a couple of hours ago and there's nothing more to eat. I need to go back to sleep. I tried sleeping, but I was just too hungry. I looked around, hoping to find and steal one of Catherine's meal packs. Being the evil sister I know, she must have kept it secret and safe from me somewhere because I couldn't find it anywhere. Well, I thought of sneaking into my brother's tent, but quickly realized that was a bad idea. They were light sleepers and would wake up immediately if I made the slightest sound. It didn't help that they were really strong, too. They'd probably knock me out before discovering that it was just their sister. That left only one option. My parents. I pulled down the zip of my tent and quietly creeped out. The stars were lighting up the sky, so it wasn't really pitch black. I could see quite clearly. I snuck into my parents' tent, trying to stay as low as possible so my siblings don't see my shadow from their tents. When I got to my parents' tent, gently pulled down their tent zip from the outside and crept in. Their remaining meal packs were littered at the edge of the tent. I took 4 packs out of the remaining 6 and tried creeping out again. Unfortunately, as I was about to take my last step before finally exiting their tent, my mom stretched her long legs while sleeping, and I stepped on it with my heavy legs, hurting her badly. She let out a scream, waking up my father instantly, but I was able to cover her mouth before she could also wake my siblings up. Chloe, What are you doing in our tent at this time of the night? She asked, out of breath. My dad observed the situation. He looked at me and noticed that I'd been trying to sneak out with 4 of their meal packs.
If you needed more food, you should have just asked. We're happy to share what we have with you. Now, you've hurt your mother.
I'm so sorry, Dad. I couldn't even look at them. I just looked at the floor. I was so embarrassed.
It's fine. Just take them and leave.
I walked out of their tent and my dad zipped it back up. Drake was standing in front of his tent. I guess he must have heard my mom scream too. I tried to speak to him, but he took one look at me and my 4 meal packs, shook his head and went back into his tent. Whatever. I took the packs back to my tent. The packs looked so tiny in comparison to mine. They were really 3 times smaller. I looked at Catherine and she was still sleeping soundly, thank God. I quickly peeled open the meal packs, finished all 4 of them, and went back to sleep feeling filled up and happy. I had absolutely no idea just how my life was going to change once I woke up. I didn't know what awaited me. Hey you! Have you liked this video already? If you haven't, please do so and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more interesting stories just like this one from us. Hurry now! I'd always been a food addict, or maybe I've just always liked food. But my relationship with food just got more unhealthy as the years went by. Honestly, I don't know. I can't trace the beginning of my food addiction and unnecessary binge-eating craze, but that was who I was now. My solution to every problem was just to eat more food. Sad? Eat. Happy? Eat. Angry? Eat. Bored? Eat. I always knew that this was a terrible habit, so I've tried my best to overcome it, but it always proved impossible. It also didn't help that my best friend Martha was always buying my favorite meals for me in huge quantities because she knew that was just how I liked them. I was scared to tell her to stop because I knew that I'll regret it badly and she won't agree to resume again. I wasn't happy with my weight either, but there was no way to lose it now. I was tired of trying, so I learned to love myself just the way I was. I knew this camping trip was a terrible idea, but my parents were really looking forward to it and I didn't want to disappoint them, so I went along with it. Now, I was acting like a hungry dinosaur and everyone was giving me weird looks. At least at home, I could hide myself in my room and eat all I want. But look at me now! I woke up late in the morning, and the first thing I realized was that I had nothing to eat for the whole day. Catherine would never share. My brothers needed to eat a lot, and their rations were really little. And I left my parents with only 2 rations last night. Besides, I didn't think anyone would want to speak to me this morning after I hurt my mom's ankle last night. God, what do I do? I just woke up and I'm already so hungry. Stomach! Can't you behave yourself for once? After pondering over it for a few minutes, I came up with a solution. I was going to hunt. I couldn't wait for food to find me all the time. I had to go out and look for food sometimes. I picked out some of the necessary equipment and carefully snuck out of our encampment and ventured deep into the woods. After 2 hours of walking around the forest aimlessly, I realized that hunting was not as easy as was shown in the movies. I couldn't catch anything, and even when I almost did, I definitely couldn't hurt it. By this time, I was sad, tired, and even more hungry. I knew that my family would have figured out that I was missing from my tent by this time, so, feeling faint, I decided to give up and walk back to our camp. On my way back, I came across someone else's camp. There were a set of tents arranged inside, but it didn't seem like anyone was around. I snuck in and discovered a huge pot of warm food. Heaven! I dove straight into it. It was a very deep and long pot filled with food, but I managed to clear it all up in a few minutes. After eating, I couldn't move, so I just lay there and slept. When I woke up, it was dark. The campers still hadn't returned, and strange insects and animals were climbing all around my body. Freaked out that I had slept for so long, I quickly jumped up and tried to find my way back to our campsite, but it was dark and I couldn't see clearly. I ended up slipping and falling over a cliff. while hanging onto a branch on the cliff for dear life. The campers that owned the food returned and saw me hanging on a cliff and screaming for help. They hardly started trying to help me, but when they noticed that their food supply had been cleaned out, a man stopped the others.
Stop helping that freak. She got exactly what was coming for her.
Huh? A lady asked. She could die down there.
Exactly. And we will die right now if we don't find something to eat. That human cleaned out our food supply for the week.
What? The lady and the others quickly withdrew the rope that they had previously stretched out. I was doomed. They packed up their stuff and changed locations, abandoning me to my fate. After hanging onto the branch for a long time, I couldn't take my weight any longer. It gave out, and I fell down the cliff, sustaining terrible injuries in the process. I spent a few hours on the floor, suspended in a strange position and unable to move. I suspected that all my bones were broken, but I kept groaning in hopes that someone would find and save me. I was almost passing out when I heard something that sounded like Catherine's voice, so I groaned louder. Oh my God! Chloe! When I saw the flashlights pointing at me and realized that they'd finally found me, I passed out. It took 5 good months for all my bones to heal totally. I hadn't been eating anything solid at all this time because my nose, chin, cheek, and jawbones had broken and were being worked on, so I practically lost all my weight. I was so little now, less than a quarter of my previous size. I was also so pretty now, so much so that my glow almost blinded me. I looked healthier, and I was happy that one good thing had come out of my eating addiction. I vowed to change my life forever. I'd stop eating nonsense and exercise more frequently. Life changed for me, and I became more popular in school. I even started dating a new hot guy. I noticed something eerily strange, though. Whenever I was sad or complained about being dissatisfied with something, my best friend Martha tried to calm me down by giving me something huge to eat. Whenever I refused, she got very angry and tried to force me to eat, storming out cursing whenever I still refused. It got even worse, and I noticed that Martha was trying to turn me into who I was before. I decided to confront her about it, and her reply astounded me. I am only trying to make you who you were always meant to be. A fat, stupid idiot. It worked when we were younger, and it's been working all these years. Why are you looking at me with that hurt face? Yes, I'm responsible for your eating addiction, and I'm the one who has kept it going all these years, never letting you heal no matter how hard you tried. I became your best friend so I could destroy you. Who are you to compete with me? You lose weight, and the first thing you do is date the one guy that I've been crushing on for years. You've been crushing on Jake. Seriously? But you have 2 boyfriends already. And so what? Every guy I want is mine. I stormed out of school and went back home to cry in my room. I couldn't believe it. Martha had been so strategic with everything. I thought she cared for me, but she'd always been with me in my times of despair to make sure my terrible addiction continued. It hurt so much. I'd lost the only person I thought was my best friend, and I realized that I never had a best friend to begin with, all on the same day. I had to disassociate myself from everything that had to do with Martha. I avoided her and kept on working towards being the best Chloe I could possibly be. I ate healthy, worked out, frequented sports events, read books, stayed wary of friends, and learned to appreciate my family more. Because no matter what weird way they expressed their love, they loved me more than anything in the world. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please tell us if you've ever experienced something like this in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Picture cutest baby you've ever met in your life. Then picture someone like 10 times cuter. That was me, Layla Rain Johnson, the most adorable baby who ever lived. I have pictures to prove it. Wow, your daughter is so perfect. How is she so flawless? I remember a news reporter asking my mom once. I was about 7 years old. and it was like I just became more beautiful every day. I'm not bragging, so please don't hate me. I'm just telling the truth. Keep watching to see how I transformed from a total beauty to something not even a frog would envy. Anyway, why was my mom on the news? Well, she owns one of the most successful cosmetic stores on the planet. She's a billionaire, and we have so much money that we could probably fill up a few thousand swimming pools with it. You're probably wondering about my dad too, right? So when my mom made her first $1 billion, she was single and living alone. She'd realized she'd have no one to pass on her fortune to, so she got the bright idea to go to a sperm bank. She was given a catalog of men and their qualities, and she chose a handsome one with a high IQ. She had no intentions of meeting him. But one day when I was 5 years old, I threw a tantrum demanding to know who my father was. This was against the sperm bank's policy, but money can get you almost anything you want in life. My mom simply paid them a few million, and before I knew it, I was at my dad's house having dinner with his family. His wife wasn't really happy to meet us, and his kids looked at me like I was an alien. I still talk to him sometimes now, but we have a very weird relationship. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't sad or anything. I had rooms full of toys, and my mom always bought me anything I asked for, so I didn't have time to think about my dad and his weird family. Besides, they were average people living in an average house. I had an easy life growing up. At school, I was one of the most popular girls because I was cute and rich. Everyone wanted to be my friend, and trust me, that came with its perks. Epic sleepovers, afternoons in our at-home movie theater, cool parties, and cool stuff for everyone. Apart from my amazing social life, I was part of an awesome dance group, and I loved gymnastics. I practiced every day in my gymnastics room with my personal trainer. He saw a lot of potential in me and told my mom that if I was consistent, I could probably make it to the Olympics someday. My life started to suck a bit when I was in middle school. There was a new girl called Sarah who thought she was better than me because her dad was the CEO of a huge company, and they were also billionaires who lived in a perfect neighborhood. She looked developed for her age, and all the boys ogled over her because she was the first one to have any boobs. I had to stuff tissues in there all the time. It was so frustrating. Then one day, she came to school wearing makeup. So naturally, it became the new in thing, and all the girls wanted to do that too. Of course, I had to beat her at it because who did she think she was? I was the boss around here. That night, I went through my mom's stuff and took a few shades of lipstick, eyeshadow, and eyeliner. I hid in my room to practice, but everything I did made me look like a clown. Just as I was trying really hard to clean my face, my mom opened my door and gasped. Layla, what are you doing? Trying on some of your makeup? Sarah's wearing it to school now, and everyone is going to expect me to do it too. You're not allowed to wear makeup. And look what you've done. You've made a mess. You're simply too young. Give me back all my stuff. She angrily grabbed all the makeup I'd taken from her room and marched away. I'd never seen her that angry before, and it made no sense to me at all. She owned a makeup company, for crying out loud, and I was cute. Shouldn't I be in her advertisements by now? It made no sense. When she was finally finished being angry with me, I asked her if she'd buy me the latest fancy gadget so I could bring it to school and make Sarah jealous. We went to the mall that night and got it. And in no time, everyone had forgotten about Sarah and her stupid makeup. I didn't think about the clown incident again until I had a dance contest with my team. We were battling against all the dance groups in our state, and we had been practicing for months. When the day finally came, we all got dressed in the same outfits. Then my dance teacher had an important announcement. Girls, I know that we don't usually do this, but you're getting older and your audience is getting larger. We've brought a makeup artist to do all your makeup. Everyone began cheering because they knew we'd look awesome. It It was one thing experimenting with makeup as a child and looking like you fell into poster paint, but it was something else when an actual professional was going to do it for you. An interesting-looking man entered the room. We were all sitting in a row and he did our makeup one by one. I was the last one, and by the time he was done, it was time to get on stage. "Hurry up, Layla!" my dance teacher screamed. What happened next was totally unexpected. I waltzed onto the stage and the audience burst into laughter. I had no idea what was going on, so I continued dancing until my teacher came onto the stage and pulled me off. "What the heck, Layla? What? What have you done to your face? What are you talking about? Did you deliberately sabotage us? There is no way we're going to win now! How dare you talk to my daughter like that!" My mom barged into the room, shot my teacher an angry look, grabbed me and left the room. When we got into the car, she was still fuming. "What did I tell you about your makeup?" "But Mom, the teacher brought a professional to do it for everyone, so we'd all look the same on stage." "You're not allowed to wear makeup." "But did you want me to go against the teacher's orders? You told me to listen to adults, you know." "I'm going to get that witch fired. I am going to destroy that dance company. How dare they? And the nerve of that woman to talk to you like that. Here, wipe your face." She handed me a wipe and I cleaned my face. I was confused though. How come everyone looked normal but I ended up looking like a hot mess again? A few months later, my life had changed a bit. I went to a different dance school now, and I was still going to gymnastics. My new dance teachers were cool, and the girls in that class weren't half bad. I even became friends with some of them, and we'd hang out some weekends. Then time flew by, and I was in high school. Remember how I mentioned that I was popular in middle school because I was rich? Well, somehow high school was a bit different. The girls who looked pretty were favored over everyone else, even if they lived in trailer parks. And everyone wore makeup, but I couldn't because every time I did, I'd end up looking like a total mess. Then do you know what happened next? Acne, pimples, everything! It's like the universe thought my childhood was way too easy, so it decided to send some trouble my way. I went from the perfect princess to one of Cinderella's ugly sisters, and it was awful. Yes, I could just go home and roll around in money, but friendship is important too. And I wanted to start dating, but none of the guys were interested in me. "You just have to be creative," one of my closest friends, Jenna, said to me one afternoon. "What do you mean?" "Well, you can't wear makeup in real life." "Yeah, and filters!" "You mean like on Instagram and Snapchat?" "Exactly! Then win the guys over with your charming personality. When they finally meet you in person, they won't care about how you look because you will have already won them over with your personality." I guess I could try that. And I did. That night, I took millions of selfies in different outfits, and I used a bunch of filters that made me look like I was wearing makeup. Boy, did I look hot. Then I joined a teen dating site. I got a few hundred likes in the first hour. Many of these guys were boring, but I started talking to a guy named Kendall. We spoke for a few weeks and I started to like him so much. He was not only gorgeous, but he was also smart. He played the piano and liked to help out at homeless shelters on the weekends. That's not something I'd ever do, but I still admired people who did. Then one day, he decided to ask me out, and I nearly fainted. "Should I go?" I asked Jenna. "Of course! This is exactly what we spoke about! Do you think he likes you?" "Well, yeah, he did ask me out, so I guess so." "Well, then obviously you want him over, so he won't care what you look like." We decided to meet on a Saturday near a popular spot in our town. It's near a lake and it's quite scenic and romantic. I got there 10 minutes early and sat on a bench gazing at the ducks, doing whatever nonsense ducks did. then I felt a tap on my shoulder.
Layla?
Hi, Kendall.
Oh, whoa. You look different. Are you sick or something? Do you have a cold? I could bring you some soup.
I bowed my head in shame.
Hey, sorry. I didn't mean that in a mean way. Come on, let's go for a walk.
I got up and we walked around the lake and spoke for a while, but I felt so uncomfortable. I felt like he was judging my acne and everything that was wrong with my face. But at the end of our date, he walked me home, and do you know what he did? He kissed me on the lips. Like, wow! That was my first kiss, and it was exhilarating. But do you know what else? I tried to send him a message that night, and it wouldn't go through. I tried calling, and he didn't pick up either. After a week, I realized he definitely ghosted me, and I started to feel awful again. Why did looks matter so much? Was I really so ugly that a guy ghosted me? I was so depressed that I went back to the lake one day with my sketch pad. I sat on the same bench and decided to sketch the ducks. Yes, the same stupid ducks. I was just starting to feel a bit cheerful again when a strange guy and his dog came to sit next to me.
Wow, you really are good at this.
At what?
Drawing. You captured the duck's beauty perfectly.
I wouldn't call it beauty, but thanks, I guess. I smiled and he introduced himself as Roland. His dog's name was Jonas, and he was so adorable. We spoke for a long time, and he asked for my number. I know it sounds cliche, but we started talking a lot. After a few months, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I felt grateful that I finally found someone who didn't judge me based on how I looked, but loved me for my personality and amazing charm, of course. I decided to bring him home one night to meet my mom, but it was going to be a surprise. I asked the chef to make his favorite. We walked from the lake to my house that evening, and when we got there, I tried to open my front door, but it was locked. Oh no! I hope she doesn't have a meeting or something. I didn't tell her you were coming.
What?
Oh, come on, she's cool. I wanted it to be her surprise. She doesn't bite, don't worry. I knocked on the door and there was no reply. I went to one of the windows and I could hear my mom on the phone. I didn't usually listen to her conversations, but I heard my name mentioned, so I got curious. Layla still can't wear makeup, but I worry that the formula is going to wear out soon.
You can't have some ready soon?
Yes, but how will I do that? Can't exactly inject it into her face while she's sleeping. She'd wake up.
Oh, this new formula can simply be added to food.
That's great! Technological advancements! You're the best, James! Then she hung up. Mom, what are you talking about? I screamed from outside while my boyfriend stared, confused. How much did you hear? She replied. She came to the front door and opened it. Everything? What formula? What were you talking about? She went quiet for a while. Tell me! I'm sorry, Layla. You'll probably hate me for this. But as the owner of a makeup company, I've seen the damage it does to women. They believe they need it to be beautiful and forget about cultivating their own inner beauty. I didn't want you to be like them, so when you were born, I used a formula on your face that would make you resistant to makeup. But it's wearing off now, and you're not putting any more stuff on my face! You're a mad woman! After witnessing all of that, Roland convinced me that I didn't need makeup anyway because he thought I was beautiful and perfect. He's sweet, but that doesn't change the way I feel towards my mom now. Right now, I am being really careful, and I'm just waiting for the day that I can finally move out and live far away from her. I couldn't believe it was her all along. Kendra rolled her hair and stared me down. Look, Alexia, she said, while chewing gum in a very irritating manner. You have skills and all, and we even kind of like you because you have a way about you that makes people fear you so much. But we're just tired of your constant complaints. You can't afford anything. And who still doesn't have an iPhone as a high school senior in this day and age? The other cheerleaders snickered, and Kendra continued, "I'm sorry, but your application has been rejected. You cannot be a part of our cheerleading team." Kendra and the other cheerleaders walked away while I just stood there feeling terrible. My eyes filled with tears, but I refused to let them pour. Why did this always happen to me? Everyone always rejected me and everything I requested. It started with my father. I vaguely remember holding my dad's leg and begging him not to leave while he struggled to get me off his foot and exit the door. He and my mom were screaming at each other, but I begged him to stay, for me, just at least. He took one last look at me and shook his foot with a lot of power, flinging me from one end of the living room to another. My dad abandoned me and my kid brother with my mom that night, and we've never seen him since then. My mother became the sole provider in our family, and she didn't find it easy at all. She told me that I looked exactly like my father, with a prominent frown that I slept and woke up with, just like him. I wondered if that was why she hated me so much. Did she hate me because my face had a natural frown plastered onto it? Or was it because I reminded her of her man who hurt her? I didn't know what the exact reason was, but it didn't matter because she made her preference obvious. She loved my little brother, Kid. Kid was a junior in high school, and he already had an iPhone, an iPad, a MacBook, and I had none of that. Whenever I asked my mom to buy me anything, her Auntie Alexia answer was always the same. "Alex, you know I can't afford this. You just have to do without." While growing up, I understood at first that things were really hard for my mom. But as the years passed and things got better, I realized that my mom just didn't want to help me. She wanted me to wallow in sadness, misery, and poverty for the rest of my life. It was so sad. "Hey, Alexia?" Bridget interrupted my thoughts. "Are you okay? You look like you're about to burst into tears." "Hey, Bridget, I'm fine. It's just that I was rejected from the cheerleading team, just like I've been rejected from every other club in school. Everyone hates me and I don't know why." The tears finally came rolling down. "I don't understand why they would reject you. You were the best contestant, 100% better than me, and even I got accepted." "You got accepted? Wow, I'm so happy for you. We really dreamt of this." They practically called me poor and broke, especially because I don't have a phone yet. "Well, why don't you?" "My mom can never afford it. I've been saving my allowance, but I can't even scratch the surface." "Can't afford it? Are you kidding? Well, maybe she couldn't before, but she definitely can now." "Huh? My mom's company just concluded a contract with your mom, and your mom was paid in millions. Buying 10 iPhones will be nothing to her at the moment. So this is your opportunity to ask, but don't worry though. If she still gives you a negative answer, I'll save up my allowance. Add it to whatever you've saved up and we can get a barely used phone from someone who wants to upgrade. Does that sound good?" "You are the best human being on planet Earth," I said, hugging Bridget tightly. "I know I am." She laughed. We walked to the front of the school and sat down, gossiping about everything and everyone until our parents came to pick us up and we parted ways. I hardly ever saw reasons to smile, but if I had just one reason, my best friend Bridget was that reason. Considering how I hated everyone and everyone hated me, I always wondered how Bridget and I became best friends. How did she get past the fact that I was always unintentionally scowling at her? She was an angel sent to be my best friend, and that was all I could say about that. I hated everyone because I always felt they were entitled. They got everything from their parents most of the time, even without asking. But I was refused everything I asked for, even when it took me a month of preparation and pleasing my mother by being the perfect child. The answer was always, "Alex, you know I can't afford this. You just have to do without it." I wasn't mean. I just didn't see a reason to smile at them, so most people interpreted it as being mean and avoided me. My mom used to promise me that if I topped my classes, she'd give me whatever I asked for. But that was a huge lie, because she never did. Now she didn't even care if I topped my classes or not, but despite that, I always did my best to be the best, hoping that my mom would finally recognize me and treat me better. But that was not happening. The funniest thing about her was how she kept complaining about my expression. Alex, you should smile more often. You know you have a magical smile. Yeah? How could I keep smiling when I was miserable? How could I keep smiling in the face of consistent rejection and disappointment? It was really difficult. Alex! My mom called out to me as I looked out the car window, preparing myself for what I was about to ask her. Yes, Mom? You're frowning again, she sang. Sorry, Mom. I laughed and faked a smile. I didn't mean to smile. I just needed a phone so I could be a part of the cheerleading team. You seem really excited today, Mom. Any good news? Well, of course. Every day we wake up alive is a testimony. My mom was so annoying sometimes. I turned to her and got ready to ask the big question once again. My heart was dancing in beats as I opened my mouth to speak. Mom. Hi, I'm Alexia. I hope you're enjoying my story so far. If you are, please hit the like and subscribe buttons immediately. And stick till the end of this video to find out the crazy thing that turned everything around. Alright, back to the video. Yes, sweetie, my mom replied, smiling. Should I bring up the fact that I knew she just got paid in millions? Should I just keep quiet about that and ask her for a phone? Okay, that's what I'll do. Bringing up her successful contract may seem a little threatening. Mom, I said in the sweetest voice possible. Can I get a new phone now? Remember, you promised that you'd finally get me a phone when things got better. And I was rejected from the cheerleading team because I don't have a phone. Please, Mom. You know that being a cheerleader means so much to me. Could you buy a phone for me now? My mom's smile immediately turned into a frown. Alex, you know I can't afford this. You just have to do without it. What? Did she just use her actual anti-Alexia answer on me? But I knew that this was a lie. Oh my god. This means it's always been a lie. My mom really hated me. But Mom, I know that you're raking in millions at the moment. I know about your successful contract with Bridget's mother. And Kid has all the gadgets, but I have none. Please, Mom, this isn't fair. The cheerleaders won't accept me if I don't have a phone. Be quiet, young woman. My mom didn't say a word after that. She ignored my pleas and drove home silently. I was weeping at this point. I just ran straight into my room and dove onto my bed. I didn't want to talk to anyone, so I quickly slept off. I woke up the next morning feeling a lot different. There was just something special about the day. I didn't wake up feeling hurt or moody. I just felt so jolly. I couldn't quite wrap my head around it. I was so happy that I was smiling from ear to ear. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Kid. I gave the two of them kisses on both their cheeks, and they stared at me like I was an alien.
Is everything all right?
Kid asked, concerned. Of course, everything is all right. It's just such a bright, beautiful day. Heavy rain was falling outside and I could hear thunderstorms, but I still thought it was a beautiful day. Okay. Great to see you smiling. My mom beamed back at me. Every day we wake up alive is a testimony, Mom. So we need to smile and appreciate our existence. Mom, could you take me to school this morning? Immediately after I asked the question, I regretted it. My mom never drove me to school. She only picked me up because it was on her way back home. Oh, sorry about the question. I'll just use the bus. Oh no, Alexia, I'd love to take you to school. Really? Of course.
What about me, Mom?
What about you? Just join us, dummy. Sit at the back. My mom quickly left her breakfast and took us to school. I was astounded. What? I got to school and kissed my mom goodbye, then bounced into the hallway, waving and smiling at everyone as I walked by. They were all confused and kept giving me strange looks. I got to class and James, the school bully, was sitting right on my table. A recipe for disaster. I didn't know what to do, so I meekly approached him with a huge smile on my face. Hey, James. How you doing?
Great, weirdo. What's up?
Nothing much. Just want to sit down. Could you stand up? By the way, you look great. Is this a new jacket?
Yeah, you like?
James asked, standing up from my seat. I love it. James laughed.
Well, if you love it so much, then I guess it's yours.
He removed his jacket and put it on my shoulder while everyone stared in horror. I hadn't just managed to get the school bully to get up from my seat without causing any commotion. I also got him to give me his expensive jacket. I couldn't believe it myself. Wait a minute. What was happening today? Why was the day going so well? Were all of these good things happening just because I was smiling? Was my mom right? To confirm my theory, I decided to approach the cheerleading team once again. During lunch break, they were having auditions, and I performed once again, doing crazy stunts. Kendra recognized me and spoke up. Alexia, is that you again? Yes, it's me. I gave her a big smile. What are you doing here? I already told you that... Kendra, I know what you said, but did you see me in action? Could you even do what I just did? Come on, I can see the judges looking at me, amazed. They can't believe my talent, and neither can you. I know you want me here, and I really want to be here too. I think we'll become good friends. Stop holding back and just accept me. Kendra turned back to her friends, and the judges were nodding their heads. I kept smiling. Well, how do we contact you? And how do you join us on our expensive outings if you're always so broke? One broke girl in the midst of 20 high-class, wealthy, beautiful ladies. I think you guys will take good care of me. Kendra laughed. Fine, you're in. Bridget immediately ran to me and gave me a big hug. Oh my god, that was so cool. And you were smiling. Your smile is so pretty. And just like that, my smile had done its magic again. I was in. Oh, I had big plans for my mom. She can't say no to this smile. The end of school seemed to take forever to come, but it finally did, and my mom arrived. Halfway through the ride, after exchanging pleasantries, it was time to speak up with my magical smile. Mom, could we stop at the mall now and get the iPhone? Of course! I was planning to suggest that. You've waited long enough. She drove to the gadget store in the mall and we alighted. As we walked around trying to pick the best phone, I stared around the shop in amazement. This was really happening! My mom was about to hand me the new iPhone, which she'd just purchased, when someone started shaking me violently.
Alexia, you've overslept. You're about to miss the bus. Get up right now.
It was my little brother, Kid. As I sprung up from bed, hot tears formed in my eyes when I realized that it had all been a dream. None of it was real. This broke me a bit, but it gave me a sudden realization, and I knew exactly what to do to turn my life around. I decided to change my attitude for the better. I got up, headed to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and gave myself a huge smile for the first time in years. I got to the dining table and reenacted exactly what had happened in my dream, right down till when I mistakenly asked my mom to give me a lift. But this time, I used missing the bus as an excuse. As I was about to apologize for making the request, my mom said, "Oh no, Alexia, I love to take you to school." Really? Of course.
What about me, Mom?
Kid asked. What about you? Just join us, dummy. Sit at the back. She quickly left her breakfast and took us to school. I smiled knowingly. Something different happened though. Once we arrived at school, my mom brought out a box. Inside it was a new iPhone. The exact iPhone that I had picked out in my dream. Here you go, baby. You've waited long enough. I hugged and kissed her while crying, then finally alighted from the car as I bounced into the hallway, waving and smiling at everyone as I walked by. I welcomed Alexia 2.0, the Alexia with a magical smile. magical smile, magical smile, magical smile, magical smile,